1941 in a capital city of South Africa by the name of Pretoria. Brought up alongside two younger siblings by his mother May, a Canadian-born model and dietitian, and his incestuous father Errol, a South African electromechanical engineer, pilot, sailor, consultant, and property developer, meaning it goes without saying that Elon was born into a life of extravagant wealth. A fortune that only grew larger when his fathers stumbled upon a golden opportunity to sell the family's private jet to some Italians in exchange for half a Zambian emerald mine, giving the family access to all the emeralds they could have ever wanted. Gems which, interestingly enough, Errol claims to have sold himself, hiring a cutter in Johannesburg and pawning them off along his trips as an engineer across the globe. Though that all depends on who you ask. While Elon was once happy to discuss the mine in 2014, he's since denied it ever existing. Not sure what happened there. Maybe he just...
Nu știam asta, faptul că chiar el a zis, dar am mai zis eu asta la un moment dat pe stream. Și știi ce? Știi ce? Este fantastic și mă bucur foarte tare că n-a apărut nimeni să-mi iau morți în pulă că mă iau de Elon Musk, să-mi zică că sunt invidios, că la. Cred că at this point a văzut toată lumea ce schem artist este, odată cu Twitter. Îmi pare că a trebuit să se întâmple toată chestia aia cu Twitter, ca să își dea lumea seama că e cel mai mare impostor din istorie. Dar mi-aduc aminte ultimele dăți când am vorbit. Ești pără! Am și un video pe YouTube, dacă vă uitați acolo în comentarii e ceva. Da, și am zis asta că Taso a avut mină de emeralde. Pentru cine nu știe, e posibil să nu știți, dar tot ce înseamnă industria minieră de pietre prețioase din Africa de Sud este bazată pe sclavie modernă. Pe copii exploatați, pe oameni care sunt aduși cu forță acolo să lucreze și așa mai departe. Ei bine, asta nu se întâmplă, asta se întâmplă azi, acum. Dar ceea ce asta de avea tasul Elon Musk se întâmpla pe vremea apartheidului. Care apartheidul nu era gen sclavie modernă, era sclavie da veche. Și practic tasul Elon Musk avea sclavi în Africa de Sud colonialistă, plină de albi și cu sistem implementat de albi. Avea practic niște sclavi care minau pietre prețioase pentru el pe care el le vindea. Și da, între timp am văzut și asta cu ce... a zis în 2014, credeam că e prin 90. This is going to sound slightly crazy, but my father also had a share in an emerald mine in Zambia. Asta zis în 2014 și în 2021 a zis there's no evidence whatsoever of an emerald mine. Cel mai mare schem artist cu aia.
Bit forgetful. Errol, though, detailed the scale of the family's luxury in a 2018 interview with Business Insider, stating, "We had so much money at times we couldn't even close our safe. With one person holding the money in place, another would slam the door. And then there'd still be all these notes sticking out and we'd sort of pull them out and put them in our pockets." Being driven to school in a convertible Rolls Royce, the Musk children had thoroughbred horses to ride and motorbikes at the age of 14, as Errol went on to describe in another interview. An illustrious lifestyle that not everybody in apartheid South Africa could relate to say the least. See, at the time, Elon belonged to a rich minority who was granted better education and healthcare opportunities, giving him a significant head start compared to the less advantaged groups during apartheid. Not everybody's dad owned a stake in a Zambian emerald mine, is what I'm trying to say. Having an influential family with the relevant resources and connections to get ahead is what ultimately allowed him to move to Canada.
Asta e funny, că gen întotdeauna au fost poze cu el și cu părinții lui și gen aia, nu, a dormit pe jos. A dormit ca Sebi Dobrincu cu cartea de info sub cap.
An emerald mine is what I'm trying to say. Having an influential family with the relevant
arată ca cei mai poși copii.
Resources and connections.
Da. La pensiunea 3 margarete au strâns bani 28 de ani să-i ducă tătucul lor, să-i ducă și pe ei la pensiune la 3 margarete, să facă și ei, să vadă și ei cum e la țară.
to get ahead is what ultimately allowed him to move to Canada during his teen years. The truth was, his parents had been divorced since 1980, and living with his dad was a decision he ultimately came to regret, as the two had more than a turbulent relationship. A cushy upbringing didn't mean one free of familial trauma.
Very violent. It was not a happy childhood. My father has serious issues.
Elon describing his now estranged father as a terrible human being, emotionally abusing his children their entire lives.
Da, este capitalismul de succes care a început dintr-un garaj. Și tu poți să inventezi mașina electrică dacă te chinui un pic. Da, e că nu vrei. Which
isn't too surprising when you consider he's admitted to having a child with his stepdaughter 40 years his junior, despite raising her since the age of 4. So, after obtaining a Canadian visa through his mother, Elon would then move to the US, attending the University of Pennsylvania and graduating with a Bachelor of Arts degree in physics and a Bachelor of Science in economics by the mid-90s, when he then moved to San Diego with plans to obtain...
Această informație am aflat mai târziu că și aceasta este falsă. Nu mai știu care era și nu mai știu unde era. Era într-un thread de Twitter sau nu mai știu unde era că am văzut. Sau la Hasan, nu mai știu unde am văzut. N-a terminat, cred că niciuna dintre facultăți, dintre universități. Și efectiv am mințit în CV ca orice român instruit de Faiar Silviu să mintă în CV, a mințit că nu mai știu dacă una dintre ele sau ambele nu le-a terminat sau nici nu le-a început. Ideea e că a bullshit-uit și cu asta și există dovezi, dar nu mai știu cum să caut acum și nici n-am chef.
A PhD at Stanford, though Elon quickly changed course as he watched the company Netscape go public with a valuation of about $3 billion. Being a fan of computers and sci-fi his entire life, Elon was enamored with the business potential of the consumer internet, dropping out of Stanford after just 2 days and chasing the money during the dot-com boom, the most convenient timing imaginable for a guy like Elon to be enveloped in Silicon Valley. After hearing a botched pitch from a Yellow Pages representative during his time as an intern, Elon recognized the need for searchable directories online and conferred with his brother/good friend of another famous billionaire whose name escapes me, Kimball, to do just that. After being primarily funded by Errol, Elon and Kimball's Zip2 sought to provide and license
Cu un mic împrumut de la TASU. Cu un mic împrumut de câteva zeci de mii de dolari de la TASU, uite că a reușit din forțe proprii.
online city guide.
Și a făcut pagina Urida pe net.
Software to newspapers. And if that sounds boring, it is. I'm not gonna lie, it's boring. And frankly, it's an idea so basic, it would have been invented by somebody else had Elon not been at the right place at the right time. But what I find funny is that throughout its early stages, Elon would impress potential investors by building a giant fake casing around a smaller computer to make it seem like Zip2 was some kind of massive supercomputer when it wasn't, kicking off a disturbing pattern of lying to investors that seemed to follow Elon throughout his entire career, but we'll get into all that later. See, Elon and Cowboy Kimball finally scored their first investment from a venture capital firm for $3 million, on the one condition that Elon step aside as CEO and allow a more seasoned tech executive to take.
Deci au zis, vă dăm bani doar dacă îl dați pe ăsta jos de la conducere. Vă dăm investiția doar dacă nu e Elon Musk la conducere.
His place. While Elon has always pushed to keep himself in the spotlight, Zip2 needed the money, so he agreed. It was at this point that newer, more skilled programmers were hired and tasked with rewriting a huge bulk of Elon's code, as it was evident his skills were self-taught, which is a mild way of putting it when you consider how much needed to be fixed. Like, I'm a YouTuber who doesn't know anything about coding, but because his approach apparently didn't include chunking, he created what's known as a hairball, or a tangled mess of code that's nearly impossible to unravel if anything goes wrong. So hey, maybe coding wasn't his strong suit, but that's okay because neither was managing, apparently. With one former vice president alleging Elon would get really angry if the entire company wasn't still at their desks working past 9 o'clock at night, which I find hard to believe, personally. Elon working his employees to the point of exhaustion has never been documented at any point throughout his career. But after eventually organizing a coup to reinstate himself as CEO, Elon became a millionaire when Zip2 sold to Compaq in 1999, with his 7% share of the company scoring him a $22 million payday, money that he would then sink into an uninsured $1 million car he later totaled, not before inviting CNN over to film the equivalent of a really
Ultimul terminat, coaie. A făcut primul ban și a luat ditai bolii după care l-a bușit. Și a făcut interviu cu CNN să le arate ce mașină șmecheră și-a luat.
Car he later totaled, not before inviting CNN over to film the equivalent of a really expensive unboxing video.
I'd like to be on the cover of Rolling Stone. That'd be cool.
He wanted to make himself famous. In fact, it's possible he cared more about his image than just about anything else. You'll see in a minute that the drive behind all of Elon's business ventures relied more on Elon making himself a cult of personality than actually improving the world in direct, tangible ways, as we see in the story of X.com, which, despite its name, wasn't a porn site.
So this is an ATM. What we're going to do is transform the traditional banking industry. I do not fit the picture of a banker. Raising $50 million is a matter of making a series of phone calls.
This is where Elon's story gets even more convoluted and dishonest. When going through his list of accomplishments, many incorrectly credit Elon for founding PayPal, when in fact, he didn't. His company X.com merged with another company that had already created and been using PayPal for up to a year prior. While he promised to revolutionize online banking by throwing $12 million at X.com, all he actually managed to do was talk up a big game and make up a bunch of false promises about an online banking software in order to woo investors. The truth was, their technology was faulty at best, with one glaring flaw even allowing users to transfer money from any account in the nation's banking system using only an account number. Employees felt as though Elon had promised the moon and the stars, but had in return delivered nothing close to it, so they were leaving in droves along with one of the.
De asta absolut toți oamenii tip Robert MTK sau whatever fake-uiesc atât de tare această viață de succes. Pentru că asta fac chiar și multimiliardarii planetei. Literalmente asta este. Este fake it till you make it, cu adiția faptului că a avut o familie bogată și un mic împrumut de la tasul.
Co-founders. Struggling to support itself, X.com merged with a competing payment company called Confinity, owned by fellow billionaire and enjoyer of young people's blood, Peter Thiel. He and Confinity received widespread press coverage in 1999 with the launch of PayPal. But despite misconceptions, PayPal was ultimately a product of Confinity, only adopting the name X.com because it was thought to have more marketability than the names Confinity or even PayPal, which was abandoned when early consumers thought it was a porn thing, so they went with PayPal. And it didn't help that Elon was suspected by executive Roelof Botha of not disclosing important financial details to the board, and with the company losing so much money under Elon, more and more people there were questioning his decision-making. So they organized a coup to overthrow him as CEO and replace him with Bloodman Thiel. It worked, and Elon was removed from his executive position at PayPal while on his way to Australia.
Cred că e un geniu care motivează angajații să inventeze. De-aia toți angajații, orice angajați a avut, vor să fugă de el. De la primul lui startup până la Twitter în ziua de azi, când i-a plecat 90% din companie sau a dat-o afară. E un geniu sub care vrei să lucrezi 100%. Mai ales angajații Tesla care au avut accidente în fabrică pentru că domnul Musk a declarat că nu-i place culoarea galbenă, așa că a scos toate avertismentele galbene din fabrică. Sau angajații Tesla când i-a chemat obligat forțat în timpul COVID-ului la muncă și s-au îmbolnăvit toți.
cutting his honeymoon a little short. As for PayPal, both of these nuts justify the decision by claiming it would have killed the company if Elon stayed on as CEO for 6 more months. Though Elon still kept his stake in PayPal and made about $180 million when it sold to eBay in 2002. He cashed out, but I cannot emphasize enough how little he actually had to do with making the company a success. And he certainly wasn't a founder despite going to extreme lengths to make you think he was. But at least Elon only did despite going to extreme lengths to make you think he was.
Musk included this clause in his separation agreement that required he legally be referred to as a founder. Omul și-a pus în contractul de reziliere când l-au dat ăștia afară de la x.com și-a pus că trebuie să fie numit founder. Scam artistry.
But at least Elon only did this once, right? Right?
He wasn't
desigur.
the founder in the sense of he wasn't, we started it.
I'm not sure why he has to also say that he was a founder when he wasn't. I don't understand that.
Well, yeah, whatever.
Before we go any further, let me clear something else up. Elon is not the founder of Tesla. Despite this lie being spewed casually across the internet over and over, the company's real founders go by the names of Martin Eberhard and Mark Tarpenning, who formally incorporated Tesla Motors in July 2003. It wasn't until February of 2004 that Elon Musk even came into the picture, becoming the largest shareholder with an investment of $6.5 million, becoming chairman of the board, but until he became CEO, he wasn't really a big part of the company. Even now, some of the only patents to his name have to do with door designs and the charging mechanism that makes Tesla chargers exclusive to Tesla.
His patent is just on the connecting point and not the cable or really the tech, just the shape and locking mechanism of the charging port. Seems like it might have to do with the fact that you can't charge any electric vehicle at a Tesla station, just Tesla cars. And one of the things Musk definitely did early in Tesla production is push for as many charging stations as they could make, meaning that one of the reasons their cars sell so much is because their charging stations account for about 40% of the stations in the US.
Which, gee, sure sounds like a way to...
Omul erau extrem de mulți oameni care își băteau pula de el că el tot zicea că e inventator, că e geniu, că e la și evident că era o crică de oameni care ziceau, men, ăsta nu inventează nimic, el nu e inginer, nu e nimic, e gen un băiat cu bani și cu marketing bun. Nu, că el e inventator, așa că sclavul s-a dus cu aia și a patentat pe numele lui ceva, 2 pin de la Tesla ca să aibă patent de invenție. La propria lui companie a zis acum relativ recent, o să patentez și eu un căcat mic aici, să nu mai zică lumea că nu sunt inventator.
Squeeze more affordable electric car companies out of the market, but what do I know? Elon at first clashing with Tesla founders after they failed to mention his name in an interview with the New York Times, because why would they? He wasn't CEO. Threatening to pull out of the company, though, if they didn't call back and issue a correct...
Da, zarurile de la oglindă. A patentat zarurile de la oglindă, efectiv.
Elon's pettiness was on full display. Elon was obsessed with being the face of it all. Probably what drove him to out Eberhard from the company in 2007, illegally denying his severance, resulting in a storm of lawsuits and counter lawsuits alike, as Eberhard slammed Elon for attempting to rewrite history and gave himself the title of founder. A settlement was eventually reached outside the court, but it's hard to imagine Eberhard doesn't hold any resentment towards the man who kicked him out of his own company.
Can you describe the moment that you realized you could no longer be part of Tesla?
No.
Is there anything you can say about why you left?
Deci, Elon Musk l-a dat pe ăsta afară, care e founderul Tesla, și urla prin presă că de fapt el e founderul Tesla. Ăsta sau ăștia l-au dat în judecată și au ajuns la un settlement în afara curții, a.k.a. Elon Musk le-a dat o cărcă de bani ca să îl lase, să-i dea voie să folosească titlul de founder.
I was voted off the island, and in a rather rude way, it wound up with some lawsuits and some settlements, and it's history now. Yeah, so I can't say a lot about it.
Going to show that the reality of who Elon Musk is doesn't exactly reflect the big chungus epic wholesome 1000 Reddit image he tries to put forward. At the core, he's still just a soulless businessman. And I promise no amount of Dogecoin is ever gonna change that. So let's focus on ways you can actually get money with the help of today's sponsor, Upside, and the store you're buying from. Putting the free Upside app back on your first purchase of the link sponsoring the
Ei încă au acțiuni mari la Tesla, plus nu au făcut nicio mașină înainte să fie dați afară. În primul rând, mă foarte îndoiesc că au acțiuni mari la Tesla. În al doilea rând, au făcut mașină înainte să fie dați afară, și anume prototipul principal de Tesla. Tesla Lotus, care era copiat după Lotus. Tesla Roadster First Generation asta. Nu mai mânca căcat.
With Elon at the helm, Tesla has long pioneered the automobile industry by producing accessible and affordable electric vehicles that are both safe for the environment and available for the everyman to enjoy. Assuming the everyman can afford a $50,000 car, but hey, they help the environment, right? Oh, mining lithium for Tesla batteries causes soil degradation, water shortages, biodiversity loss, and literally increases global warming? Damn, well, at least Elon sold them anyway, despite knowing Model S batteries.
Să nu mai zicem de cum a mințit el dintotdeauna că va face Tesla pentru tot omul până la $10.000 și pula mea, a zis că prima Tesla de $10.000 o să fie în 2018 sau un căcat de genul ăsta.
Warming? Damn. Well, at least Elon sold them anyway, despite knowing Model S batteries tended to break down and catch fire in 2012. Yep. It was also reported in 2017 that 90% of Teslas that rolled off the assembly line came with some kind of issue that needed to be fixed retroactively.
90% din Teslele care au ieșit de pe banda de producție aveau probleme. 90%.
Some buyers reported their cooling system was cobbled together with planks of wood, while other anecdotal testimonies revealed a trend of cosmetic issues even on their most expensive trims. In 2020, Tesla users reported an outage that prevented them from getting into their vehicles. The range of the Model S was once beaten out by another electric vehicle literally made out of trash. The autopilot was once so unsafe that you could bypass the safety feature by shoving a piece of fruit into the steering wheel. The panel gaps are obvious, the plastic is often loose, and the bumpers have been known to fall off in the rain. The NHTSA has opened up at least 35 investigations into Tesla's autopilot after being involved in over 400 accidents since July 2021. Lawsuits continue to pile up over Tesla's apparent phantom braking. Fires involving lithium-ion batteries are notoriously hard for firefighters to extinguish, which is especially unfortunate when you consider Teslas catch fire so often that there's an entire category on the Tesla Wikipedia dedicated to such incidents. Spontaneously catching fire in the store, causing house fires when parked in the garage, even bursting into flames while being washed, with Tesla fires ultimately being responsible for over 30 confirmed deaths. Which doesn't fill me with confidence personally. Really nothing more than a death trap masquerading as a cheap status symbol, which is one of the very few genuine accomplishments to Elon's name.
De asemenea, softul Tesla are băgat automat din fabrică să se dezactiveze autopilotul în momentul în care se face un accident. În secunda în care se ivește, se înțelege softul că se va face accident, softul de autopilot se dezactivează pentru că în cazul unui proces să nu poate să zică că autopilotul era activat, pentru că nu e așa. Asta ar însemna că autopilotul a făcut accidentul, nu omul. Sursa, ea caută autopilot deactivated Tesla crashes, whatever. Și au fost mai multe procese în SUA fix pe chestia asta. Și s-a dovedit că asta se întâmpla. Tocmai ca să nu poată să fie trasă Tesla la răspundere, nu era activat. Nu era activat cu aia, ce o să faci? Ce o să iei de bun? O să iei de bun software-ul sau cuvântul omului?
He took the electric car mainstream. At the very least, you could say Tesla's popularity has forced other car manufacturers to pursue their own electric models, most of which seem way more promising than whatever the fuck is going on at Tesla, a company so notorious for OSHA violations. I probably could have made this entire video solely about their horrible working conditions.
We're hearing from
Exact ce ziceam și eu. Singura chestie pe care poți să o lauzi la Tesla și în niciun caz la Elon Musk, care nu are niciun interes să facă asta, este popularizarea cât de cât a EV-urilor, care în momentul de față sunt ca și cum n-ar fi. Dar valul pe care l-a creat Tesla a permis cumva ca toate companiile de automobile să se gândească de 2 ori înainte să mai facă mașini pe benzină, lucru care nu o să se mai întâmple în 20-30 de ani. Which is good. Aceste laude sunt pentru inginerii Tesla, în niciun caz pentru Elon Musk, care nu are niciun interes în chestia asta, din 15 triliarde de dovezi pe care le-ați văzut și o să le vedem. V-am mai zis o dată de istoria Ford și a mașinilor electrice și de că primele mașini gen din lume erau pe aburi și electrice, gen la 1880, 1890, 1900, până când a venit tata Ford cu banii la guvernul american și guvernul american a zis: ne place mai mult asta pe petrol, că dă domnul Ford mai mulți bani. Și așa, dragi prieteni, iată-ne 100 de ani mai târziu, fiind acaparați de mașinile cu combustie. Și Ford a avut, sunt multe branduri care au multe branduri de mașini, dar Ford a avut o gamă foarte mare și foarte ambițioasă de EV-uri cândva în 2001, 2002, ceva, și au renunțat, le-au șters complet pentru că nu voia să le cumpere lumea, pentru că în mod evident ei aveau toată gama de benzină și nu prea avea sens să promoveze asta electrică.
from a former Tesla employee who sued and won a discrimination lawsuit against the automaker. ABC News reporter Rebecca Jarvis has more on the racial abuse he endured.
On April 16th, 2018, a nonprofit investigative journalism site by the name of Reveal News published the results of an investigation that discovered a rampant slew of employee injuries at Tesla's Fremont, California factory that had gone unreported after the company claimed to have made the factory safer than it used to be. Now, I don't know if you knew this, but not reporting a guy's inhalation injuries from breathing in toxic glue doesn't mean it didn't happen. In fact, failing to log serious injuries on government-mandated reports to make your company look safer than it actually is illegal. But right as this investigation was made public, Elon spouted off on Twitter. The problem is journos are under constant pressure to get max clicks and to earn advertising dollars or get fired. After journalist Jessica Huseman reminded him that Reveal News was a non-profit that doesn't have advertisers, Elon suggested they're all rich kids in Berkeley who took their political science prof too seriously. Tesla going on to smear Reveal News as an extremist organization working directly with union supporters to create a calculated disinformation campaign, even though Reveal was just the messenger, basing the report on medical documents, OSHA records, 911 calls, and Tesla's own injury logs, speaking with 5 former members of the Tesla safety team, along with dozens of other former and current employees. Some were union, but others weren't. Employees who described a chaotic factory floor where speed trumped safety. It's been reported that workers were crushed by forklifts, burned in electrical fires, sprayed with molten metal, and sliced by machinery named after X-Man characters. And that's just according to the ones they reported, which amounted to about 722 total injuries in 1 year, or roughly 2 a day. Even over a year.
Interesant ce înseamnă chestia asta, să ai o fabrică în care sunt 2 răniri pe zi. Pe zi! Mi-am adus aminte acum de angajatul ăla de la Tesla, parcă, care a fost whistleblower. Cred că din cauza whistleblowing-ului. Și Elon Musk l-a raportat la poliție ca fiind terorist. Cred că o să zic aici. Nu m-am uitat la tot ăsta.
A year later, Tesla still had 3 times as many OSHA violations as the 10 largest US plants combined, which may have had something to do with the lack of yellow hazard marks around the factory. As the Reveal article alleges, concerned about bone-crunching collisions and the lack of clearly marked pedestrian lanes at the plant, the General Assembly line's then lead safety professional went to her boss, who she said told her Elon does not like the color yellow, along with him also supposedly personally disliking the sound of forklifts backing up. Pretty insane claims Elon has since denied in the same breath as threatening to take away stock options from union workers, which landed him in court. If someone said Elon doesn't like something, you were concerned because you could lose your job, stated the former environmental compliance manager. So not only have employees blamed the unprecedented number of injuries.
Dar cred că toți angajații ăștia mint că sunt invidioși, că ei n-au succesul lui Elon Musk.
On Elon's supposed relaxed approach to safety, but Tesla didn't even report all of it. When injuries were brought to light on a public scale, however, Elon promised to personally meet with all the injured employees and even visit the floor of the Tesla factory to do their jobs for them, which would have been cool if he had ever actually done it. And this was all before making his employees return to work at the height of COVID, resulting in an outbreak, defying public health orders and causing 450 plus cases at his own factory in 2021 is far from his initial prediction that there'd be 0 new cases.
Asta mi-a plăcut, să dintre tweet-urile mele preferate de la Elon Musk, care a zis în martie 2020, când abia începuse COVID-ul, a zis, based on current trends, probably close to 0 new cases in US by end of April. Gen în 20 de zile se termină COVID-ul. În 10 zile. În 40 de zile se termină COVID-ul. Martie 2020. Unul dintre tweet-urile mele preferate de la el. Desigur, știa și el că e o minciună, dar nu știa cum să facă să nu plece angajații din fabrici. Pentru că nu e așa, spre deosebire de companiile la care poate să lucreze omul de acasă, la fabrica de mașini nu poți să lucrezi acasă.
COVID by April 2020. And while it's worth noting Tesla isn't the only car manufacturer known for this kind of unethical activity, it's also important to keep in mind we don't worship other tech or car CEOs as such brilliant architects of the future who will bring humanity to the next step by installing chips in our brains or whatever.
In a lot of ways, it's kind of like
Altă Caterinca și aia cu Neuralink-ul.
a Fitbit in your skull with tiny wires. If they're inserted very carefully, so that the robot actually images the brain and makes sure to avoid any veins or arteries so that the electrodes can be inserted with no noticeable damage. You sort of think like if you stab something with a wire, surely it will bleed, but actually at a really small scale, it does not.
Most visionaries, though, don't end up sued by the state of California over reports of, quote, rampant racism that have been around for years. According to a 39-page report from 2022, black employees were not only denied promotions and given harsher punishments than others, but black workers and black workers only were forced to scrub the floor on their hands and knees. Tesla's response to these claims has been both poor and dismissive, shoving the racism allegations to the side to instead brag about how much they've done for sustainability and clean energy, which is pretty fucking ironic considering how much money they pull in from selling their carbon credits.
But Tesla still isn't profitable. Their stated goal is to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy. But Tesla's actual strategy is exploiting well-meaning government climate programs. Look at carbon credits. Government permits to emit a certain quantity of greenhouse gases. Companies earn carbon credits for reducing emissions and have to spend them when they emit too much. Tesla earns a lot, then sells them to other companies, erasing whatever progress Tesla made. The boost from selling carbon credits led to some of the only profitable quarters Tesla had ever had.
So they're basically...
Asta este cel mai important point de reținut aici. Și explicația pentru care acțiunile Tesla sunt atât de mari la bursă, încât, știi, sunt mai mari decât Ford și Toyota și whatever la un loc. Pentru că Tesla nu este o companie de mașini, este o companie de software și o companie de spălat bani. Vorba vine spălat bani. Este 100% legal cu complicitatea Guvernului Statelor Unite. Exact ce a explicat omul ăsta. Dacă poluezi prea mult, trebuie să cumperi credite de carbon. Și de unde le cumperi? De la companiile care nu poluează deloc. Ok, Tesla. Asta se întâmplă și nu e ceva 100% SUA. Asta este Tesla. O companie, la fel ca și SpaceX, la fel ca și toate căcaturile lui Musk. O companii care suc din banul public al cetățeanului american. Cam asta sunt companiile lui Musk. Pentru că pentru cine nu știe, și SpaceX a primit miliarde, multe miliarde de dolari de la statul american, pentru că ei sunt singurul contractor.
Basically monetizing
Și acțiuni că au căzut cu 80%. Ia uite-te cât e acțiunea Tesla și cât e acțiunea Ford sau orice altă companie care produce și pune pe străzi de 15 trilioane de ori mai multe mașini. Încă e imens valuation-ul Tesla.
Pollution that Elon has most definitely contributed to with his rocket-related vanity projects. When he can even get them approved for launch, that is. One being denied in 2020 after the FAA cited a tweet from Musk himself where he predicts a 1 in 3 chance of success. Get this, he launched anyway and the rocket blew up. I mean, what are we even doing at this point? But who cares? Tesla and SpaceX are thriving. Tesla's value being so high, in fact, that it can never fail, I think. Actually, it's been reported as one of the most overvalued companies in the world because it's seen as a tech company, not a car company. It's why they've got such a lead on Toyota, for example.
Ăștia au market cap de 442 de miliarde, mai mult decât toate grupurile de automobile la un loc. Lucru care este o glumă proastă, având în vedere că Tesla pune de 13 trilioane de ori mai puține mașini pe stradă decât oricare dintre aceste companii.
Example, despite having to recall so much of their inventory, but at least Elon has some great ideas on how to revolutionize the way we get around.
Traffic is soul destroying. It's like acid on the soul. It's horrible. This is, I think, finally there's something that I think could solve the goddamn traffic problem.
After finding himself stuck in
Iarăși, una dintre cele mai tari glume ale lui, care mi se pare fantastic, a găsit niște proști de la stat pe bani americanilor, să ne înțelegem, dar că n-a băgat el niciun ban în tunelele pulii. A găsit niște proști cu aia să-i dea bani să facă tunelul cu trafic. Nu mai ești în trafic pe șosei, ești în trafic în tunel.
Traffic one day in 2016, Elon envisioned a bright future where people could travel in a less congested environment, vowing to instill a safe, earthquake-proof underground network of tunnels to help you get from point A to point B in reduced time. And if you're thinking, hey, that sounds a lot like a subway, you're right, except these are only for Teslas and can only take on a fraction of the people a subway can carry. Described as a dangerous and uncomfortable death trap by people that have actually used it.
Oh my, there's a traffic jam. Oh, you know what? When it's busy with new people constantly, it's not too bad. But when it's slow and you're by yourself, it kind of...
Ești în trafic, dar sub pământ. Și de asta zic că e cel mai mare impostor din lume, că dacă ai fi vorbit cu orice urbanist care a făcut facultatea în ultimii 30 de ani din lume, ți-ar fi zis că conceptul de a adăuga încă o bandă nu o să rezolve niciodată traficul, pentru că cu cât adaugi mai multe benzi, cu atât incentivezi oamenii și mai mult să-și ia mașini. Therefore, nu o să fie niciodată destule benzi. Și dovada sunt Statele Unite ale Americii sau China, care au autostrăzi de-alea gigant în pula mea de 13 benzi pe sens, care sunt pline. Pentru că incentivezi oamenii să-și cumpere din ce în ce mai multe mașini. Și nu poți niciodată să ții pasul cu zecile, sutele, miliardele de oameni care își cumpără mașini. Adică nu poți să extinzi destul de repede. Și oricum n-ai loc să extinzi în marea majoritatea orașelor.
So, Elon somehow managed to come up with a less efficient, more costly version of...
De asta soluția este transportul în comun. A.k.a. nu știu, metrou în loc de mașinile metrou cu 2 locuri.
Something that already exists and works perfectly fine. In fact, one would think the more responsible thing to do for society would be to put more money into public transportation rather than create your own...
Animația de la proiectul inițial pentru Hyper Tunnel, sau cum se numește, drăcia, mi-amintește de clipul ăsta. Da. Fix, da, Apple care nu mai știe cum să facă telefoanele ca să ți le spargi mai repede, să le duci în service, să ții garanție, să le schimbi, de să chinuie de la an la an să le facă din ce în ce mai fragile. O să-ți facă landing pad sau cum cred că se numesc alea pe telefon.
Own tunnel system from scratch that would require time, resources, and billions of dollars to complete. There's a reason we only have one of these things coming out of a Las Vegas convention center and not the elaborate network Elon once promised. But if I had $1 for all the times Elon failed to go through on a promise, I'd be able to buy Twitter. Making such absurd predictions that don't end up happening, between Tesla battery swapping to saying there will be 1 million robo-taxis on the road by 2020, promising a self-driving Model 3, connecting our brains to computers, and saying he's gonna put people on Mars in the next 10 years, which was...
Bă, da, sorry, asta cu Marte, man, nu știu, adică zicea bine chinezărie că cumva vrei să crezi în prostiile astea care ca să-ți dea niște entuziasm în viață, niște optimism, niște whatever. Bă, da, mi se pare fantastic cum, adică, nu știu, eu personal mi s-a părut asta, o glumă de PR de prima oară de când am auzit-o. Dar gen, un om care chiar crede chestia asta, știi că, bă, Elon Musk, pula mea, rachete, catering, ok, mergem pe Marte. Știi, gen, mi se pare fantastic că niciunul dintre acești oameni care au pus botul la chestia asta, între milioane, sutele de milioane de oameni care au pus botul la chestia asta, nu s-au gândit, ok, și după am ajuns pe Marte, ok, ce se întâmplă? Ce faci pe Marte? Ce faci? Ce faci? Îl aștept pe Smiley, da, ce faci? Ce faci exact? Nu există, suntem probabil la sute mii de ani distanță de a avea o tehnologie care să terraformeze sau what? Ce faci? Nici nu contează asta, ce faci? Pe lângă anii de dus, de oată, ce faci? Ai ajuns, ok. Bun. Bravo, ai ajuns. Da, cum am zis eu în video trecut, dai la lopată. Te apuci și dai la lopată. Ca să ajungi la apă. Te apuci, dai la lopată și iei aruncătorul de flăcări Tesla și dai în gheață ca să facă apă. Băi, e ca asta zic, man, adică e un schem artist, dar și oamenii sunt proști, man. Sorry, coaie. Ce faci? Ce se întâmplă? Ca să nu zic că știi, adică dacă e în scop științific sau whatever, ai inventat băieții de la NASA, ai inventat ea cu 40 de ani în pula mea, roboței care să facă toată munca asta. Nu trebuie să meargă omul să dea la sapă, e roboțelul. E Mars roverul. Face piu, face ca actul de tu. Wow! Știi, și găsește alea pe acolo.
10 years ago. See, setting lofty, unachievable goals for the future is a big part of Elon's business strategy. Sometimes it works out and he finds the funding he's looking for, which isn't hard to do.
Îl aștept pe Daniel Cafeluță cu cafeluța marțiană.
But other times, and he finds the funding he's looking for, which isn't hard to do. But other times, Elon lying on such a public scale has gotten him sued by the SEC when he knowingly lied about taking Tesla private at $420 while he had no plans of actually doing so. Which all goes to suggest that maybe we should approach this guy's ventures with a strong degree of caution and skepticism. Because at the end of the day, does Elon care more about helping the world or helping his image. Positing himself as the cool guy billionaire with cameos on Young Sheldon and The Simpsons only contributes to the latter. Same with going to the Met Gala and hosting what is by far one of the worst episodes of SNL I have ever seen. Maybe if he wanted to be perceived more favorably and make real, substantial societal change in the process, he'd be making more consistent donations, like when he donated $1 million to trees on one occasion, which is $166 million less than what he tried to sue a whistleblower for, and $43,999 million less than what he spent on the worst app on your phone.
This morning, billionaires debating the direction of...
Mai țineți minte când a zis că dacă se poate rezolva foametea pe glob sau în Africa, nu mai știu cum era, el o să dea banii aia, care banii aia erau gen, dacă se poate dovedi că se rezolvă foametea cu 6 miliarde sau 3 miliarde, nu mai știu cât era, că el dă banii aia. Și pe urmă a zis, nu, de fapt nu... Nu vreau să dau. Și pe urmă a dat în pula mea 40 de miliarde sau cât morții lui a dat pe Twitter.
The site that has an
Eu îi dau, dar numai să vedem că se poate. Că eu nu cred că cu 6 rezolvăm. Dar cu câte zice că rezolvăm? Cu 10? 15? 20? Cu 20 crezi că rezolvăm? Crezi că 20 de miliarde merită mai mult ca să rezolvi foametea versus să dai 44 pe cea mai falimentară aplicație? Bă, cum a reușit ăsta, care îmi pare cel mai amuzant căcat? Cum ăsta a luat una dintre cele mai de succes companii de social media din... Hai, poate nu din lume, dar din SUA cu siguranță. Și da, listată la bursă, pula mea, și a reușit să o aducă la nivel de startup cu aia. E ceva mai amuzant pe lumea asta. Cum ăsta a reușit să șteagă cât 10-15 ani de progres în cadrul unei companii și să o aducă din nou la nivel de startup?
impact on the spread of information. Elon Musk tweeting overnight, Twitter needs to become by far the most accurate source of information about the world. Former owner Jack Dorsey replying, accurate to who?
Elon Musk completed his takeover of Twitter in a $44 billion deal on
Da, și când a mințit că a donat ea 6 miliarde, a mințit că, uite domne, că am donat 6 miliarde, unde i-a donat, vă întrebați? I-a donat chiar la fundația caritabilă Elon Musk. Băi, este cel mai mare scam artist din lume cu aia. Și mă bucur că sunt a day one hater, dar în același timp îmi vine să mă duc acasă la fiecare ratat de aici din chat și de pe YouTube. Că, nu, minți! Fake news! Minți! E geniu! Să mă duc la ea ca să le bat la ușă. Să zic, ia mai zi.
October 23rd, 2022, cleaning house by immediately firing the CEO, CFO, and head of legal policy the following day, with rumors that he was about to fire 75% of Twitter's total employees, an aggressive decision
Da, e vechi video-ul ăsta, s-a întâmplat deja asta și nu e 75%, e 90% din angajați.
Backtracked before settling on about 50%, which still amounted to over 3,700 jobs being taken away.
Sau mă rog, atâția a dat afară, dar restul și-au dat demisia.
Departments including engineering and content moderation. Some employees in Ireland and Britain staying up late at night to learn about the fate of their careers at 3 in the morning. According to the New York Times, the cuts were so haphazard that at one late night meeting about the Twitter Blue subscription product, at least one worker was locked out of the company's systems during the call. The layoffs were so sudden and devastating, they prompted Twitter founder Jack Dorsey to take personal accountability for growing the company too quickly and letting it reach this point. A point where the FTC is now tracking the developments at Twitter with, quote, deep concern after key members of the security team left en masse as the company goes up in flames. With each passing day, it's becoming more apparent that Elon...
Da, era la un moment dat în care se reporta, cum îi zice? M-au prostit știrile americane. Se zicea la un moment dat că nu mai era nimeni care se raporta, se raporta la un moment dat că nu mai era nimeni care avea acces la asta de tot ce înseamnă, cum îi zice cu aia? De compliance a discursului pe Twitter, de securitate a pula, dacă venea atentatul cu bombă pe Twitter, că erau doar coderii care aveau acces la să șteargă, să facă, să dreagă.
Maybe a little too in over his head, saying things.
Că dăduse afară atât de mulți oameni de acolo și restul au plecat încât nu mai era nimeni pentru o perioadă care să lucreze în departamentul ăla. Și că singurii care aveau... N-am înțeles nimic, băga mea și pula, stai. Dar nu vin... Așa mai content moderators. Dar nu moderatorii în sine. Stai așa. Twitter's content moderation team reportedly unable to work amid Musk takeover. The system that normally functions with hundreds of human moderators is currently relying pe 15 oameni to manage content violations. Și din câte înțelesesem la vremea aia, ăștia 15 oameni, de fapt, ei nu erau instruiți să facă asta, era personalul de software care face codul, care aveau acces la zona aia.
About the app only to have it be corrected by the former CEO, the website itself, or employees who have been with Twitter way longer than he.
Am eu mai mulți moderatori aici.
Too in over his head, saying things about the app only to have it be corrected by the former CEO, the website itself, or employees who have been with Twitter way longer than he has, going so far as to publicly fire an engineer who didn't do anything but offer a correction in a particularly public throwdown that ended with Elon using the information the guy gave him. As one user summarized the situation, Musk declares something he knows nothing about, is corrected by an employee who explains the problem, then fires that employee and presents their ideas as his own, which, as we've covered here today, is quite literally the story of his entire career. But Elon seems to be less concerned about the internal problems that could cost the company billions and more focused on fixing the problems that weren't actually there, lifting an indefinite work from home order to assure employees work 40 hours a week in person as he begins to roll out a number of asinine changes. Some of the changes having to do with content moderation and adding long-form text attachments to tweets, which is something that already exists. Why is everyone in the replies pretending that we don't already have this? Twit longer is a thing. This isn't new. The biggest change that you've probably already seen has to do with verification. Twitter, along with basically every social media site, uses a small check mark to indicate that celebrities, journalists, politicians are all the real public figures they say they are.
Am adorat această chestie cu verification-ul, cum au luat ceva care funcționa absolut perfect, l-au deconstruit și pe urmă au trebuit să-l refacă la loc, dar de 15 ori mai prost și mai buggy.
So that people aren't fooled by impersonators. It's a pretty standard, straightforward method that has always worked. But because Elon is obsessed with making dumb and counterproductive changes that make people pay attention to him, he's decided to change how we view verification, coming up with a plan to charge users $8 for a check mark. But not just for celebrities, for anyone, floating the idea that paying for a subscription is the only way to make more people see your tweets.
Prioritize Twitter search, replies, mentions by verified users first. And
free speech egal să-mi dai mie $8 pe lună. Bă, da, ca asta zic, mă, că băi, prost, bă, săracu, băi, prost, voi credeți că gen n-are cum să fie prost un om cu atât de mulți bani? Că adică asta e logic să crezi, bă, n-ai cum, bă, să fie prost, că altfel nu făcea atâția. Băi, prost, bă, săracu. Deci, tu practic trebuie să plătești ca să produci pe... Adică încerc să zic că n-are sens din punct de vedere, nu știu, structural, ca un schimb. De exemplu, eu pe Twitch exist pe Moca. E Moca să am cont pe Twitch. Pentru că eu creez content pentru Twitch. Eu produc bani Twitch, din care Twitch îmi dă și mie o parte, cum să face. Că și eu sunt exploatat de Twitch, da? Glumesc. Dar gen, asta se întâmplă cu toate platformele sociale. Tu faci content pe YouTube, pe moca. Și câștigi bani din cât negociază cont cu tine. Facebook la fel. Acolo nu plătești nimica și nu ești plătit la loc. Pentru că să fac bani pe căica ta de la reclame. Dar tu ești produsul. Tu ești produsul. Tu omul ești produsul. Că dacă nu e nimeni pe Twitter, Twitter e zero. Știi? Tu ești produsul. De ce aș plăti $8 ca tot eu să creez content pe Twitter? Că asta e. Adică asta zic că structural nu are sens. Nu are sens. Why would I? Why would I? Mă rog.
Yeah, this is very, if you're payment verified with blue checkmark, then you're prioritized and hateful conduct pays. But if somebody...
Nu. Cum adică să te promovezi? Păi nu te promovezi. Ești shadow banned dacă nu. El asta zice. Ești shadow banned dacă nu plătești. Asta zice că ei sunt prioritizați și o să fie prioritizați aia care plătesc. Și acum dacă intri pe Twitter, ai un cont nou, îți apar numai de aia verified. Îți apar numai de aia verified. Dacă te uiți într-un thread de Twitter, primii îți apare aia verified. Aia care plătesc, adică. Aia care plătesc $8. Deci nu te promovezi. Ești shadow banned dacă nu plătești.
Risks losing even $8. The net effect will be over time that...
Și oricum s-a dovedit că e atât de prost calculul, că e prost, bă, săracul, că e genul ăla de prost narcisist care ia el toate deciziile pe wc fără să se consulte cu nimeni. A zis că ok, cerem $8 și ținem Twitter-ul în viață așa. Și gen, Twitter consumă ca să țină serverele în picioare, nu știu, nu mai știu, dar era o sumă de asta astronomică versus câți bani făcea Twitter Blue. Deci Twitter ca să funcționeze pe internet o zi costă mai mult, cu 15 triliarde de miliarde mai mult, glumesc, dar era o discrepanță extrem de mare. Versus câți bani se făceau din Twitter Blue. E prost, mă, săracu. Gen, era un căcat de bani, erau, nu știu... Aș vrea acum să vă poate știe cineva să caut, să mai caut. Dar era o sumă de asta, gen Twitter Blue făcea un căcat de bani versus costurile de funcționare. Aha, uite. Twitter server cost around 1,5 miliarde pe an și dacă ar fi 250 de milioane de daily active users și cu $6 per user, așa... Revenue was... Ce mi-ai dat, mă, frate, aici? Ce pula mi-a dat-o? Aoleu. Twitter running cost servers Twitter Blue. Bine, nu mai știu cum să găsesc acum. Ideea e că din Twitter Blue se făcea un căcat de bani versus costurile operaționale. Și că n-a gândit-o deloc, gen absolut deloc.
The verified users will pretty much always be at the top of comments and search, and you won't really see, you'll have to scroll far to see the unverified users, which
aka shadow banning.
will be the bots and trolls and whatnot.
Incentivizing people to pay for the app by burying unverified accounts under anyone who coughs up $8 and gets a fake little participation trophy. With reports that those who do not pay for Twitter Blue will be relegated to a separate page on the site entirely. So just like his carbon credit scheme, Elon has found a way to monetize free speech rather than facilitate it. Putting it behind a paywall only assures the real avid dick riders are the ones who get their voice.
Aha, Twitter pierde $3 milioane pe zi și Twitter Blue făcea ceva gen $400.000 pe lună. Era ceva la modul. Gen ăștia pierd 3 milioane pe zi cu costurile operaționale și Twitter Blue făcea 400 de milioane pe lună. Gen mic. versus 400.000 de dolari pe lună versus 3 milioane pe zi. Cred că ăsta era numărul. Numărul real, nu ce estima el. Numărul real de oameni care folosesc Twitter Blue. Că te-ai aștepta, că nu e așa la lansare, să fie cei mai mulți. Că așa funcționează. La lansare e huge și pe urmă scade. Și pe urmă, știi, mai convingi pe alții pe drum și poate te stabilizezi undeva, dar la lansare atunci e gen zi. Ai cei mai mulți user, gen la orice, și la jocuri, la absolut orice.
Voice is heard. That and anyone who pays $8 to impersonate celebrities and tweet things that...
Am adorat toată această saga cu troli care plăteau $8 ca să falimenteze companii.
Their voice is heard. That and anyone who pays $8 to impersonate celebrities and tweet things that surely Elon would find hilarious now that comedy is legal again. The one funny thing Elon's ever done, and it was by accident. But this sudden push for subscription-based content makes more sense when we see it in a wider context, as a possible attempt to recoup the losses he incurred by failing to get out of his binding obligation to buy Twitter, at least as stated by a former employee, driving home the point that these new payment options are less a demonstration of Elon's genius marketing wit and more like a desperate scramble to keep the company from going bankrupt. Elon's takeover prompting such a mass exodus of huge advertisers, i.e. where Twitter gets 90% of their revenue from, probably having to do with the number of hate-filled tweets increasing by 5 times and the new CEO of the company himself tweeting ridiculous conspiracy theories.
Da, mi-a plăcut foarte mult. Mi-a plăcut foarte mult cum omul a share-uit literalmente de pe un site de conspirații de alea QAnon type shit în legătură cu tentativa de asasinare a lui soțul lui Pelosi, a.k.a. cel mai de succes trader din America cu informații luate de la stat. Și a share-uit un fake news de la coaie că zic că omul care a încercat să-l asasineze pe ăla e de fapt iubitul lui. Da, asta, man, adică de-aia de QAnon originală. There is a tiny possibility there might be more to this story than meets the eye. Și a share-uit ceva
theories immediately following the acquisition. Yeah, it's no surprise that brands don't want to be associated with that. No matter how much Elon threatens to thermonuclear name and shame them in front of 110 million people, which probably won't do much to curb the billions of dollars Elon projects Twitter to lose over the next year, telling employees that bankruptcy isn't out of the question. Of course, the fact he even spent $44 billion at all, more than twice of what Twitter was worth, kind of already demonstrates that being a billionaire, it doesn't always equate to being smart at business. Now, I'm personally not in the biggest hurry to upload my bank info to an app that just lost a chunk of its cybersecurity team, but I hope for Elon's sake that enough people pay for his dinky little check mark to keep the lights on. But at least in the meantime, he did manage to make Twitter have less ads than this video, so I'll give him that.
PayPal, SolarCity, Tesla, SpaceX, they're so spectacularly different. They're such ambitious projects at scale. How on earth has one person been able to innovate in this way? What is it about you?
Despite everything we've talked about, Elon Musk is still one of the most liked and respected people on the planet. His quirky, casual internet status setting him aside from the group of other elitists who don't have a fraction of the support Elon both enjoys and exploits. His army of unrelenting fans is like a weapon he uses against the people who slightly criticize him, like the time he baselessly accused a journalist of taking bribes for Tesla short sellers, or at the time he called a British diver leading the charge to save a group of boys trapped in a cave pedo guy, paying to find dirt on the man when all he did was refuse to accept Elon's submarines he didn't think could work. Maybe I'm in the minority on this, but threatening to sue a Tesla whistleblower for $160 million is far from preserving free speech. So is attempting to bribe a 17-year-old kid with a Tesla for operating a Twitter account publicly tracking all of your flights, or at the time he allegedly offered a flight attendant a horse after he supposedly exposed himself to her during a massage. Incidents that go completely disregarded.
Dar cum era aia, men, de l-a dat pe unul pe mâna poliției că e terorist? Ce făcuse ăla?
Or forgotten.
Hai că Tot cu mâna mea fac mai bine.